Hey everybody, welcome to our Monday morning 10 o'clock live session for Define My Day. We are doing this a little bit differently. So now I am starting a new software that allows us to stream it to YouTube, the user group, and the Facebook page all at once, auto-magically. I'm going to just take a moment right now to test that this is working correctly and that we are on, and we seem to be. So what this does is it allows us to show this video to people in different places. So if your preferred place is Define My Day's website, then Define My Day's Facebook page, then you can watch it there. Otherwise, if your preferred place is in the user group, if you haven't been catching the Facebook page, because a lot of people in the user group actually don't follow the Facebook page. So we are trying to do this in a different way to get to all of our people that might be missing us in different places. So that's why we're here. The one thing I can't do, I don't believe, is pre-schedule it. So you won't see, if we do it this way, you won't see it scheduled for 10 o'clock. So we're going to probably have to do that a little bit differently. So we're working out the kinks, but trying to make this a little bit easier for everybody to get to it. Real quick, I want to say good morning to Unknown. Good morning, Unknown. Good morning, Janice. Good morning, Lori. And good morning to Unknown again. Whoever you are, good morning. I don't know why some of those are not coming in, but maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe we won't. I have no idea. I apologize if I don't know your name as you're posting these things. All right. So first thing we want to do, get to our memes of the day. First one. Oh, and it took me out of the picture. Oh, man. All right. Well, whatever. We'll still go through it. First one. Have you tried turning Earth on and off again? As a computer guy, this is always the first thing we always try. Maybe we should try it. Stop eating out, cook at home, and you'll lose weight. Quarantine determined that was a lie. Now, if you're like me, maybe you blamed a little bit of your current situation on eating out too much. And yeah, I'm going to say that that wasn't the problem. Okay, so like every chef right now, and you've seen this, right? Today I'm going to show you how to make something simple with ingredients everyone has in their pantry, since you can't go to the store. I'm going to start with Madagascar vanilla, hemp milk, and a single feather from a dodo bird. Yeah, because you know what's going on here is that I don't have any of the stuff that people keep talking about, the easy things to make in the kitchen. What if this quarantine is just the aliens fattening us up for the big harvest? I've thought about that, and it would be completely unsurprising to me at this point if aliens landed. 2020 came out looking like a warm chocolate chip cookie, then one bite and bam! Oatmeal raisin. And the world in 2020, now what? Right? Like, I mean, we're just fish in a bag floating in the water at this point. So I thought those were all funny. That's my weekend roundup of the stuff, the memes. If I didn't already say good morning to Lori Benson, good morning, and another unknown, good morning. We got our first YouTube live commenter, Laura, good morning. Maybe you are the unknown. Maybe you are if you're on Facebook, but if you're on YouTube, you're completely known. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be crazy. We're actually it looks like we can maybe even stream live to LinkedIn. So we're going to have like totally new audiences. It's going to be weird. As you guys know, I have been reading, my new book is What Makes Your Brain Happy and Why You Should Do the Opposite. Kind of not in the flow with it yet. I haven't read a whole lot of it yet, but what I have read has been pretty good so far. And it does explain a lot of the political opinions, regardless of what side that you're seeing on the internet right now. And he talks about the brain actually needing to be correct more than looking for new information. Like the brain is not happy with uncertainty. The brain is not happy with any type of uncertainty at all. And he says our need to be right is actually a need to feel right. Like the brain just feels better when you are when there's some certainty, whether that certainty is correct or not. And he goes through different examples. But I wanted to read this one paragraph that I thought was really important. So he says, your motivation in this case, which he goes into an example, which we're not going to do, isn't to rationally evaluate the information you found and, if necessary, change your position. Your real motivation is to find information that will confirm your existing position because there's no way in hell that it's changing, period. And this goes back to what we talked about last week, right? About the internet, like the people that invented the internet thought that like we were going to give the world this wealth of information and that people were going to learn more, when in reality people would just went to the corners of the internet to verify their already certainties, their certain, like everything they've already decided. They just went to the corners of the internet to find anybody to validate their opinion, to make their brain feel better. It's a confirmation bias. They just want to confirm what they believe, regardless of the amount of contradictory material out there. So keep that in mind. And according to this book, and according to what I might already know, it's not easy. It's not easy to go through life questioning your ideas and thoughts and opinions, but it's vitally important. And a lot of people, and you see a lot of people, like they will do anything to prove their opinion, and they will go to the worst sources possible. But if they find this one, they'll hold it up and be like, "Yes, I'm right," when everything else says the opposite. So it's a hard place to be, where you're constantly questioning yourself. But I think it's important. Good morning, Teresa. Thanks for joining me. All right, so I'm also going to start this thing where I read from one of these prompt books each day. I'm going to do one every morning and just kind of like spark some something, right? Okay, I don't like that one. So, this one is: I was 32 when I just. Oh, sorry. This is Julia Child. I was 32 when I started cooking. Up until then, I just ate. So the prompts are: name a food you used to just eat, and describe how you now cook with it. Pretty cool, right? So it's in a way asking you to be mindful of like, there's those things. I mean, things that like, when I was a kid, I would just eat lasagna, or I can't just cook with lasagna, but like this is sort of my quick off the cuff example. I would just eat lasagna, and I really don't like eating lasagna because it's just something I ate too much of as a kid. But when we made it for our boys 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, it was an experience, right? It was like something new for my kids to watch them, have this dish that, in 9 years, my one son never even knew what it was. And realizing what they were missing out on, and they loved it, and they loved the leftovers, and that whole experience takes on a completely different meaning. So that's I thought that was kind of cool, actually. That the one right there. So good. So what did you used to just eat, and now how is it something you cook with? So try that for a little homework. Hey, we have another unknown. Good morning, unknown. All right. So listen, I'm going to talk to you about something that I think is really important that we talked a little bit about last week, and we've touched more deeply in the past, but I want to bring it around again because as we get new people that watch these videos, I think this is the one tactic, whether you're using Define My Day or not, the one tactic that works really, really well for people. And that is time blocking. And so what time blocking is it's taking everything that you have to do in a day and actually assigning it a block of time on your calendar. And that can be any type of calendar you have, whether you have a written calendar, whether you have, and you're doing it if you have a written calendar, you're just not maybe doing it to the fullest extent. even on, if like right now I'm using Apple Calendar, right, the one on the Mac, and it syncs to my phone, right. And so if you picture that calendar that's on your phone, you're seeing a block of time. Now, we schedule things on there, but what I think we should all be doing right now is scheduling everything on there. Schedule everything from like the time you wake up, taking a shower, eating breakfast, calling somebody, having conversations, important priority work you're doing, to-do listy stuff, eating lunch, whatever. Even the time you go to bed, even watching TV. Time block it all. And what that does, and it's not like just a way to be like super stuck up or like walking around with a broomstick up your butt, right? I mean, this is basically a way to gain an awareness of where you spend your time. And it's not even a temporary thing, because in my experience, as I've done this, doing it really makes me aware of how little time I have and how time can leak away from me. And as I'm going through my day trying to follow the schedule, I can see where I underestimated time, overestimated time, and where things creep in, where I get distracted because somebody called me and asked me to do something, because something comes up around the house. And I started to realize like where I need to say no and where I need to stay focused on what I need to be doing. Um, and so as I've gone through life and I've, like I get things under control, and then, we do what works, we stop doing what works, right? And so I would stop time blocking, and then I would, and I would be able to like coast where it would just kind of, my momentum would keep me in that zone. But after a while, it stopped working and I would get less efficient. And then I would come back to time blocking and it would bring me back up to speed. So it's something that every time I quit doing it, there's like a time where I can be okay, and then it starts to fade away again. So as I'm time blocking my day today, I have all of my priorities blocked into time. I also have my reading blocked in, my meditation, my to-do listy items, like all the stuff I've listed on the side of my define my day that I need to get done today. Those are all each given 15 to 1 hour time blocks, depending on how long it's going to take. Now, I do leave some empty blocks in there for like miscellaneous or whatever might come up. And sometimes I will even adjust the time blocks, like drag them up and down depending on how long it actually took me to do it. But it's really important. Even when like people say, well, I don't want to schedule my TV time, or I don't want to schedule my time with my kids. I think we should, because what this does is it delineates the two, but whatever else you're doing. Like, so if work should be done at 5 o'clock, and from 5:30 to 6:30 you want to spend time with your kids, then you can be focused on that because you've scheduled it. Your brain has decided this is my mission for this hour. I can be focused here. I have nothing else I need to worry about because it's all accounted for in another way, right? In another time of the day. Even with, being intentional about relaxing, like you can put TV from 8 until 10 o'clock, right? We can be intentional about that, but it also gives us a stopping time. Like, okay, I agreed because tomorrow I have time blocked all this other stuff. I need to wake up at 6 o'clock. I need to exercise. I need to eat breakfast. I need to make phone calls. I need to do all my priority stuff. I need to be done watching TV by 10 o'clock. That gives your mind a deadline. Like, okay, this is my schedule. At 10 o'clock, I agreed, 2 hours is enough. I'm going to go to bed and wake up tomorrow, right? The more definition you can add to your day, the more boundaries you can add to your day, the more healthy it's going to be. We even time block our weekends where, I block yard work. Like this Saturday, we did a lot of yard work. We blocked out yard work. And then after that, we have free time. It can just be free time where you just like don't think about anything. But then we know we need to come back to cooking dinner at 5:30, right? If we want to eat dinner by 6:30. But all of this gives you awareness of where your time is being spent and how we overestimate and underestimate the things that we're responsible for doing. So don't look at this as like a like being overly goofy about anything. This is not about making your day too rigid. This is about growing your awareness of what the important things for you are at this moment and where your attention should be. It helps you stop multitasking. It helps you stop drifting. It helps you stop like being out of mindfulness with what you're doing right now, because you're not thinking about the other things you need to be doing. They have their own time and place. So focus on what you need to be doing now by time blocking. And then really, and you'll see, like as you realize how little time you have, there's a lot of things on your list of things to do, and you start putting it later in the week. Like you can time block days ahead of time, right? Like, okay, I can't do it today, but I'll do it tomorrow. I can't do it tomorrow, but I'll do it Thursday. As you do that, you'll start to knock things off that you never want to touch. Like, I will never have time to do this. Like, I've had that thought so many times. There is no possible way I will have time to do this because I have way more important things to do and it's going to take up all my time. And then when somebody tries to encroach on your time, you can say to them, I'd love to, but you should see my schedule, right? Mr. Important, Mrs. Important, right? But, I mean, that's the way it is. When you have better awareness of where your time needs to be, you will be able to say no in the times you need to say no. And sometimes it's a harsh reality, right? When you can put on your time block, I did absolutely nothing for 10 hours today. How healthy is that? And you have to question that and say, okay, so look, if I say I want to do nothing for 9 hours, like if I can put 1 hour of exercise in there, or 1 hour of reading, or a half an hour of reading and a half an hour of exercise, and when anybody says I don't have time to define my day, well, you can find 5 minutes, right? There's probably a lot of stuff you're doing in there that maybe not such a high priority. So gain that awareness by time blocking. All right, let's check out my comments here. Brenda just mapped out my son's Zoom calls for the week. He has 3 to 4 per day. That's nuts. And I'll tell you, so my boys this morning, my one son, my oldest one, the 4th grader, he wakes up and immediately goes to work. Like he gets on his computer, he wants to get it done, right? So he's watching his video, he's doing his work, he wants to get it done. This morning, our 6-year-old is downstairs crying because they woke up late, they slept in a little bit, and he is upset because the amount of work that he's getting is overwhelming him. And it's not so much the work is overwhelming him, it's the amount of time it's taking. Because his teacher, they're long videos, right? They're 45 minutes to an hour and a half long, each of them. And for a 6-year-old, that's a long time to sit down. And she's teaching to everybody. He's more advanced, he can read more, so a lot of the work is sort of remedial for him in a way. And so he's fidgety and his attention it's hard to keep his attention on it because it's stuff that he already knows or has already figured out. So he's having a hard time with it. So, where my oldest one has a first things first mentality, he gets the work done and so he can move on with his day. The other one is being overwhelmed by it and then waking up late now makes him feel like now it's eating into the rest of my day. And so he has this awareness of all of this stuff he has to do and it's overwhelming to him. And so our conversation with him right now is that we are sorry, it's got a phone call there. Our conversation is that we need to set up a little bit more like a time blocking schedule for him, like a little bit more rigid, but not rigid that he needs to be working, more rigid in that, if he's going to get stressed out about waking up late, then we need to make sure that, no matter what, he wakes up by this time, right? And then he has time to wake up, do what he needs to do, eat breakfast, brush his teeth, all that other stuff. And then he can sit down and do work for a set amount of time. And regardless of whether that class is over, we'll give him a 15-minute break. He can come upstairs, he can have a snack, he can have a drink, he can, do whatever he wants. And then after that 15 minutes, he can go back downstairs and get back to work for, again, another block of time. But this mountain of work that he is seeing, and again, it's not difficult work, it's just time consuming. And so we're trying to break that into digestible chunks for him so that he is not experiencing this overwhelm that he had this morning. So we're working through it with him. The other one just kind of takes it all in stride and goes with it. So it's just a matter of adjusting for each individual, like what they're good at and what, how they perceive things. Levi says, can you take a moment and just re-explain what you were saying earlier about the transition? I'm very mindful of my safety and privacy. Can you please help me understand how to keep that if transferring to YouTube? And yes, time blocking officially began last night for my 12-year-old, and I get ready for the week. Love it. these sessions have been public for well, since we've been doing them. The ones in the user group we've always kept private, but since we brought this out public, they've always been available on the Facebook page, YouTube, and on the podcast. So if you do have private things you want to discuss, there are things that should be either discussed in the user group or discussed one on one, Livy. So basically, nothing has changed. It's just rather than doing them live and then uploading the video onto YouTube, it's now live on YouTube also. I've been time blocking for a week now, and it's made a huge positive difference. During this quarantine, I was not using my time wisely. Now I do much better. That's awesome, Sharon. Awesome. Libby, I did too. I know organizing my 12-year-old took me longer than time blocking my stuff, but it's going to pay off. She's already showered, morning chores, and it's ready for this scheduled meeting with you all. Love it. Yeah, so that's it, right? So, and I think that it's so beneficial if we can get the kids with all of the random things on there, get them blocked in and under control. It gives them a sense of like, I know what I should be doing right now, rather than the kids especially can tend to go in many different directions. And it's always worked best when we've set a schedule and kept to the schedule. Whether it was like, okay, guys, 3 o'clock, we're going to go outside and exercise or take a walk or whatever. Like they know, set my alarm on my clock in my room. 3 o'clock, we're going outside. And with that sense of like of structure, there's no argument because they know it was coming like from 3 hours ago. So there's no like, oh, come on. Like it's just like, okay, 3 o'clock, I know that's what we're doing. As long as you stick to it. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, you've dealt with that too. Yep, absolutely. Last time I had a day of 10 hours of nothing, I had norovirus. Right now, I'm really struggling with managing work and my daughter's schoolwork. Yeah, yeah. Um, it's it's tough. Right now especially, it's hard to find priority in what to do. And with a lot of people are like looking at this like I have nothing to do right now, and that's hard. But other people are looking at it like almost there probably is more to do. Like if you have kids now at home, you have to manage their schedule. Plus, you're trying to work. Plus, you have increased stress and pressure and all this other stuff. And I think that's where the time blocking really comes into play, and it gives you a little bit of awareness of like, okay, no human could handle the amount of stuff that I think I can handle. Like when you look at the stuff you're scheduling for work and personally and all of the things you're trying to manage, you realize that it's inhuman to realistically believe that anybody could do this without stressing out once in a while or taking a break. So this tactic can almost absolve you while making you more productive, can also absolve you of a lot of things you feel pressured to do. So this process can really help out in that moment. And really, if you have a supervisor that's saying you need to do more, like maybe this is a good example of like, these are the things I'm doing. I can't do anymore. So give me a break, right? I mean, it's do what you can do, and understand, like giving grace, like give yourself some grace. And sometimes you have to say to others, you got to give me some grace too, right? And good, Livy. I'm glad we're good. Okay, cool. Thank you. The last thing I want to discuss, and this is something that I'm kind of getting a new perspective on right now, in a couple of different ways. It's and this is always a thought that I've had, and it's becoming more clear as I have an example personally. But that we tend to, some people can come up against a big problem, and when that problem needs to go on hold, they can redirect their attention toward all of the other things that are going on in their life, right? So they can, like say big project or big drama or big catastrophe, think coronavirus. Um, they can deal with that information, do what they need to do to digest it, to act on it, and then move over and continue to do the things that are healthy for them, whether it's exercising or just taking care of to-do list stuff, calling people back, answering emails, cleaning their house, doing their yard work, all of that stuff, right? And other people don't have that skill. And I call it a skill and not an ability, because an ability kind of makes it feel like, if you don't have this ability, you're never going to have it and you can't deal with it. I think it's a skill that people learn. I know in my life, as I've gone through any kind of tragedy or really stressful event, I tend to focus on that event, and I can do what I need to do, and that action might take only a fraction of my time, but then the rest of my time is spent going it over and over in my mind from the time I wake up, while I'm in the shower, driving in the car, in between meetings, like, or even in meetings, my mind is going back to this thing that's stressing me out. And it becomes so big that it makes other things seem inconsequential when they're really not, right? So we have this, all the little things, like the bunch of little things around us that still need to be done, that are consequential, that are required to get done, that need to happen for our health, for our jobs, for everything. But then we have this big gigantic thing right here. And because of this big thing, everything else just seems so small. It's like down here. But that's not the case, right? That's not reality. All these things end up becoming bigger because we're neglecting them while we're focused on this one thing. And this has happened to me. It's happened to me when I've had an employee issue. It's happened to me when I've had client issues. It's happened to me when I've had marital issues. At the time that we were, losing the baby, that it happened then. And it's happening now, like, right? Like, so I'm tempted to focus on the current coronavirus situation, being stuck at home, our health, our business. And as you're sort of dealing with this, there's other things that are still vitally important, and we can't let this big thing overshadow all these other things that we have control over. And so, I think that skill of being able to say, yeah, this is something that's huge. I can't control any of it, right? Watching the news isn't going to help me. Reading more articles isn't going to help me. Like, I can only control all of this stuff over here. So I'll keep my finger on the pulse of this. Like, I'll check in with it every so often, but I need to do these things over here. And these things are, in my case, managing a business, talking to you guys, keeping my kids on the straight and narrow, keeping up with the household chores, keeping up with my own health, keeping up with my friends and family, all the little projects we have in running the business. Like, all of that stuff might seem less important when you have this big crisis going on, but it's almost more important, right? So when we're giving ourselves forgiveness and giving ourselves grace and letting ourselves relax, we have to make sure that we're not doing it to the point that it's detrimental to what we want, right? So, and the thing, like our purpose in life and all the things that are important to us, we can't let all of that atrophy because we're so focused on this big thing over here. And I'll tell you, like, when Lynn and I had some of our worst times together, it affected everything. And it's hard for it not to, right? When your marriage seems like it's falling apart, when all you're doing is fighting, when everything's awful, I would be sick all night. I would get up. I would not exercise at all because, who can think about exercising when you feel like your life is falling apart? And I would go into work, and I would just go straight into my office and close my door, neglecting employees, neglecting my brother who works with me. It was just, I couldn't stop thinking about my own problems. And, when you do that, answering emails isn't important. Projects aren't important. Like all of the things that need to be done on a day in and day out basis. And I say need to be done, right? I mean, things need to be done. And so I would distract myself if I weren't thinking about it, like over and over, going on with arguments over and over in my head, or who's right and who's wrong, and what am I going to do, and all this other stuff, right? But I'm not going over and over in my brain about that stuff. Then I was distracting myself, whether it was going out to lunch or like doing something just time wasting, right? And then I would just do whatever fires came up. Like if something came up, I would address that fire and take care of that, or just try to offload everything to somebody else. So that's not the right way to handle things, right? And so you have to build up a skill where you say like, okay, I have to let this go at the moment and address the things that are important to me. And you can see, if you look over the past, if you're always in a sense of like, like there's this like big thing that's always derailing me, and then there's like the path I want to be on. And so if you're on this path and you keep getting derailed, like your progress in the overall path and purpose toward your goals, your progress is always going to be siphoned off, and you're always going to, be distracted, and your results are always going to be less than. And that's what the Define My Day process has helped me with, in that, I can discuss through my journaling, the big problems I'm having. And I can, when you say to yourself every day, this is stopping me from where I want to go, I need to bring my attention back. I need to bring my attention back. It's that practice of bringing your attention back to the things that matter and the things that you can control. And so if you feel like your life is constantly being derailed by drama, um, you know, events that you can't control, distractions, I see people, arguing, like the people that, I've observed in my past that have the most drama are usually the people that are always upset that they can't get stuff done. And when I watch it happen, I just want to yell like, stop engaging in that stuff. Like and it's almost like they're creating it. It's almost like they're creating a distraction so they don't have to do the thing that they say they want to do. And so, you have to realize like, this is not good for me. This engaging in this is not good for me. Engaging in this distraction is not good for me. Focusing on this any more than I absolutely have to is not good for me. Yeah, I understand it's a big thing. It's affecting all of us, but we have so little control over the grand scheme of things that we need to control the things we can handle right now. The things we can control, the things we have influence over. So keep that in mind as you're going forward. It's something that even now, like as I have the tendency to drift, or the tendency to almost even want to wait. Like, and this is something I've seen a lot in the comments, is that people say, like there's nothing to do, right? Like I'm just waiting for this to be over before, like life is on pause right now. That's not true. This is life. This is not the life we might want, but this is life. You can't pause life. You're not going to like, this isn't like soccer where when they stop play, they add play to the end of it, right? That doesn't happen here. Like if our time is up at a point in time in the future that we don't know yet, that isn't going to get extended. Like nobody's looking down going, oh, wait, they put life on pause for 3 months in 2020. All right, let's give them 3 more months at the end. That's not happening. This is your life. This is my life. This is our lives. We're not pausing anything. We still have to live it. And we get to choose how we live it. So how are you choosing to live your life today? Are you so focused on this big problem that we're not handling the little things? Are we letting ourselves get unhealthy? I'm not saying we're going toxic productivity here. I'm not saying do more, learn more, whatever. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that we can't let it all go while we wait for this to end. That's unhealthy. All right, let me check out our comments here. Last time, got it. So this is it. If you're watching in the user group, you come up as unknown. So if you make a comment in the user group, you're going to come up as unknown on our thing here. But if you make a comment on the Facebook page, you won't come up as unknown. And I think going back to Levi, I think if there is a privacy concern for anyone, If you're in the user group, you can comment in the user group, and people won't see the name publicly because the user group is private. I actually like this. But if you make a comment on one of the public pages, like on the Facebook page or on YouTube, you will show up as with your name there as somebody, making a public comment, right? So that makes a lot of sense. I actually kind of like that. You know what? I saw the movie Click. That was a long time ago. I don't remember anything about it. I'll have to check that out. I don't. Is that safe for kids? There was an Adam Sandler movie that we watched, bedtime stories or something like that. And my kids loved it. They thought it was hilarious. So I feel like I'm confusing those two movies. I don't remember if I've seen Click or not. So. All right. Well, that's all I had for today. I hope everybody has a great Monday. I hope you stay healthy, keep moving forward, and I will catch you again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Take care. Bye.